Okay.
Ah, right, there you are. Good. Make yourself at home. Pour yourself something. I've been looking at this wonderful little book of the essays and sketches of Leigh Hunt, a great friend of Keats, and rereading for sheer pleasure his account of his library and his books. Just read the sentence, "I entrench myself in my books equally against sorrow and the weather." And that seems to me quite a good thing to be doing, and sort of what we're doing here. But actually reading Leigh Hunt had put me in mind of a piece I wrote myself, inspired by Leigh Hunt, but by others, Charles Lamb among others, in the genre of the familiar essay. That's a particularly got a long and interesting history in English literature. The short essay speaking to you just as a friend, as we are now, but written out as an essay. Addison and Steele did it in The Spectator, Johnson did it in The Rambler, Charles Lamb and Leigh Hunt, Hazlitt, the essayists of their age, and then of course later Chesterton and Bella. And because I have a column in the Church Times where I write a little familiar essay, I found myself doing it too. And I was just thinking at these occasions of your coming to the library that actually one of my little essays is about this very place and sitting here. It's set in January, actually, around the time of the Eve of St. Agnes with the winter weather. But I thought I might read it to you. It's from my book, In Every Corner Sing, which is a collection of these fugitive essays and pieces that I wrote for the Church Times. And it's just called My Book, and it starts with some Keats. Anyway, I thought you might enjoy it. So make yourself comfortable. I shall just have a little drop. And here we go. My books. 'Tis dark, quick pattereth the floor-blown sleet. Keats's scene setting for the Eve of St. Agnes, a January poem if ever there was one, could serve just as well to set the scene where I sit snug in my study, surrounded and comforted by my books, while fitful gusts fling the weather against my windows. But I have warmth, lamplight, the sleeping dogs. Actually, happily, we have got the sleeping dogs, so there we are. The dogs have decided to make themselves comfortable. That's George and Zara, good dogs. So I have warmth, lamplight, the sleeping dogs at my feet, and best of all, my books, familiar friends, volumes of every shape and size, some elegantly bound, some worn and splitting, each with a story to tell, not only within their pages, but about their pages too. They carry the memories of when and where I bought them, the different times I read them, the friends with whom I read them. They are none of them catalogued or constrained into rank and file by any system. I let them stand on shelves or lie open on tables and chairs in any order, as happy chance and my own fancy finds them. Sometimes I feel sure they consort together and shift around in the room when I'm not there. I'm certain I left John Donne safe in George Herbert's improving company, but there he is again on the table consorting with T.S. Eliot. This evening, my pleasure in books themselves was intensified when, idly turning the pages of Leigh Hunt, I came upon his little essay, My Books, and read the opening sentence. Sitting last winter among my books, and walled round with all the comfort and protection which they and my fireside could afford me, I began to consider how I loved the authors of those books, how I loved them too, not only for the imaginative pleasures they afforded me, but for their making me love the very books themselves. It's the very same scene. I felt as though Leigh Hunt were here with me, or I there with him. In that amiable essay, Hunt also remembers the friends with whom he shared his reading and his library. He tells how Charles Lamb loved his old folio of Chapman's Homer so much that he gave it a kiss. And well he might, for it was this same volume that gave Hunt's other friend, John Keats, such delight that he wrote the immortal sonnet, On First Looking into Chapman's Homer. Much have I travelled in the realms of gold, I could say with Keats. But my realms of gold include Keats himself, Hunt, their mutual friend Shelley. And what makes Hunt's little essay so poignant is that it was written in Italy just after Shelley's death. Hunt, who had stood on the shore with Byron as Shelley's body was burned, tells us that it was a volume of Keats, which he himself had lent to Shelley, that they found in Keats's pocket when they recovered him from the sea. Shelley had promised that it would always be with him till Hunt saw him again. But Hunt says one more thing to close that essay. He had once asked Shelley what book he would most like to save, and the famous atheist replied to him, the oldest book, the Bible. It was a monument to him, Hunt says, of the earliest, most lasting and most awful aspirations of humanity. So I laid down my Leigh Hunt, moved by that great radical, to pick up and open once more the oldest book. So there's a little reading. I might read you one of these two of these occasionally. Actually, the next one's called On Poetry and Cheese, but we might save that for another occasion. So, Slán Siva, and thanks for dropping by. Oh, the dogs are being good again.